What if I told you that one of your greatest strengths might be secretly ruining your life? I know. It sounds crazy. We've been told since we were kids to be kind, to share, to put others first. It's the bedrock of being a good person. But here is the uncomfortable truth that Stoic philosophy forces us to confront. When kindness is given without wisdom, it doesn't just go unappreciated. It can actively drain your energy, sabotage your self-worth, and leave you feeling like an empty shell. Have you ever felt that? That after a day of helping everyone else, there's just nothing left for you? Type empty tank in the comments if that resonates. I want to know I'm not alone in seeing this. Today, we're diving deep into the dark side of being too nice. We're exploring the 10 dangerous reasons why unchecked kindness can backfire, and how the ancient wisdom of Stoicism provides the perfect antidote. This isn't about becoming cold or selfish. This is about achieving balance. This is about a personal growth journey from being a people pleaser to becoming a person of power and authenticity. And to make this real, I want to introduce you to someone. Let's call him Mark. Mark's story. Well, you might just see yourself in it. Mark was the nicest guy you'd ever meet. A dedicated project manager, a loyal friend, the guy who always remembered birthdays. His phone was the emergency hotline for everyone in his life. His motto was, "If I can help, I should." Sounds noble, right? But beneath the surface, Mark was drowning. He was a living example of kindness without boundaries, and it was quietly dismantling his life, piece by piece. Let's use Mark's journey as our guide as we explore these 10 reasons. Reason 1. The perception of weakness. Let's kick this off with a hard truth. Excessive kindness can make you look weak. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true strength comes from inner fortitude and self-control. But here's the catch. If you're always available, always saying yes, you can accidentally project an image of someone with no backbone. Think about Mark. At work, he never pushed back on deadlines, even when they were unrealistic. He'd take on the tedious parts of a project that no one else wanted. He thought he was being a team player. But what was the real result? His boss started seeing him not as leadership material, but as a doer, reliable, but not promotable. His colleagues learned they could offload their unpleasant tasks onto a nice guy Mark. He had become the path of least resistance. But here's the twist. The moment Mark finally started saying no, firmly but politely, everything changed. When his boss asked him to lead a new, poorly planned project with an impossible deadline, Mark took a breath and said, "I understand the priority. Given my current workload on Project X, I can't take this on without compromising the quality of both. Can we either adjust the deadline or redistribute some of my current tasks?" He wasn't rude. He was strategic. He was professional. And in that moment, he stopped being just the nice guy and became the strategic thinker. This is what boundary setting looks like in action. It's a declaration of your self-worth. And that, my friends, is a power that no amount of people-pleasing can ever give you. Reason 2. The cycle of unrealistic expectations. This one is a heartbreaker, and I bet you've been here. Unrealistic expectations will lead you straight to disappointment. You do a huge favor. You go above and beyond. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking, they'll remember this. They'll definitely return the favor. Sound familiar? Be honest. We all create these silent contracts. Mark was the king of them. He spent his entire weekend helping his friend Brian move apartments. He skipped his own workout, his own downtime, and lugged boxes up 3 flights of stairs. In his mind, the contract was clear. Brian owes me one. He'll be there for me when I need him. A month later, Mark's car broke down. He was stranded and called Brian, expecting him to drop everything and come get him. Brian's response, "Man, sorry, I'm right in the middle of something. Can you call a taxi?" The disappointment was a physical blow. Mark felt used, resentful, and spent the whole night overthinking. After all I did for him? How could he? His stress management was non-existent because his emotional state was entirely dependent on Brian's actions. The Stoic solution: give freely, but give without any strings attached. Detach the act of giving from the hope of a reward. This is the core of emotional intelligence. The Stoics would say Mark's error wasn't in helping Brian move. It was in investing his emotional well-being in the ROI of that help. When you master this detachment, you build an unshakable resilience that no one can take from you. Reason 3. You attract the wrong people. Your energy is a magnet. And this is where it gets scary. Too much giving attracts energy vampires. When you're a perpetual giver, you become a beacon for takers. These aren't necessarily bad people. They're just people who are drawn to an easy resource. They see your endless kindness not as a virtue, but as an opportunity. Mark noticed his social circle had a specific type: the friend who only called to complain about her life for an hour, never asking about his; the colleague who only interacted with him when he needed a professional favor. His kindness had built a community of users. He was the friend who was only called during a crisis, the colleague who got all the extra work dumped on them. This is where energy protection isn't just a buzzword, it's a survival skill. By learning to say enough, you send a signal to the universe. You start to repel the users and attract the givers, the collaborators, the people who value authentic connection over what they can extract from you. Reason 4. The slow erosion of self. This might be the most insidious one. You can completely lose yourself in the needs of others. Stoicism constantly reminds us to know thyself. But how can you know yourself when you're constantly tuned into everyone else's frequency? For Mark, this was the most painful realization. One evening, his girlfriend asked him what he wanted to do for his own birthday. And he drew a complete blank. He was so used to accommodating what she wanted, what his friends wanted, what his family wanted, that his own desires had become a foreign language. His dream of learning guitar, the case was collecting dust. His own hobbies, his own voice, they got quieter and quieter, drowned out by the noise of other people's demands. He was living a life of reaction, not action. He was avoiding his own personal growth by burying himself in other people's agendas. True self-care isn't just a spa day. It's the courageous act of reconnecting with who you are. It's setting a boundary not just with others, but with your own need to be needed. It's asking yourself the hard question: if I wasn't busy fixing everyone else's life, what would my own life look like? Reason 5. The trap of constant giving. This is the practical side of the erosion. You create a cycle where people expect you to always be the giver. It's like feeding a stray cat. If you do it every single day without fail, the cat will not only expect it will depend on it. And if you suddenly stop, you're the villain. The Stoics valued moderation in all things. Mark had a team member who constantly needed help with basic software. Instead of teaching her, Mark would just do it for her, to save time. He created a monster of dependency. She never learned. And he became her permanent. Unpaid IT department. He was robbing her of her own resilience and destroying his own productivity. As Seneca wisely said, Real generosity is giving what is needed, not just what is asked. Sometimes the most generous thing you can do is to step back and say, "Let me show you how to do it yourself." That's how they grow, and that's how you reclaim your time management for your own goals. The turning point, a moment of Stoic clarity. Let's pause Mark's story right here, because this is where it all came to a head. He was sitting in his car after work, too tired to even go inside. He was resentful at his boss, angry at his friends, and felt completely invisible. He was pouring from an empty cup. And the cup wasn't just empty, it was cracked. In that moment of quiet desperation, a line from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus came to him. We are not disturbed by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens. It hit him like a lightning bolt. His thoughts. He was the one who kept saying yes. He was the one who set the precedent that his time was less valuable. He was the one who attached silent contracts to his generosity. The problem wasn't the world's ingratitude. It was his own lack of internal boundaries. This was his moment of profound self-awareness, the catalyst for his personal growth. Reason 6, breeding suspicion and mistrust. Now, this one is a real kicker, ironically. Excessive kindness can make people suspicious of you. In a world where everyone is looking out for a number one, someone who is relentlessly selfless can seem weird. People get cynical. After Mark started setting a few boundaries, he noticed a strange reaction. A colleague pulled him aside and said, "Everything okay? Mark, you've been different lately. Are you angling for a promotion or something?" His pure intentions were being filtered through their lens of self-interest. They couldn't fathom that he was just trying to preserve his sanity. The Stoic response: don't water down your kindness. Instead, be consistent and transparent. Let your actions over time speak for your character. True authenticity doesn't need to explain itself. It just is. Mark learned to smile and say, "Just trying to manage my energy better." And let that be enough. Reason 7, the risk of dependency and burnout. Let's talk about the physical and mental cost. Giving without limits is a fast track to burnout and unhealthy coping mechanisms. When you're emotionally and physically drained from constantly propping up others, your system will scream for relief. For Mark, this manifested as a reliance on late-night junk food and mindless scrolling to numb the mental exhaustion. It was his only way to signal to himself that the day was over and he could finally check out. This is a crisis of energy protection. Your body and mind are forcing a shutdown because you refuse to set boundaries voluntarily. Stoic philosophy is a philosophy of self-awareness. It asks us to listen to these warning signs, to notice when we're using giving as a way to avoid our own pain. Taking a step back isn't weakness. It's the ultimate act of self-care and preservation. Reason 8. One-sided relationships. You become the crisis friend, not the celebration friend. Think about this. Mark was the guy you called when your pipe burst at 2 a.m. But was he the guy you called when you scored tickets to the big game? Often no. He was trapped in the helper box, and it was a profoundly lonely place to be. He realized he was part of the transactions, but not the transformations in people's lives. He was there for the hard stuff, but not the joyful, connecting moments. The Stoic approach here is a test of discernment. It's a chance to see who values you and who just values what you do. Investing your time and energy into the relationships that are reciprocal is one of the most powerful applications of Stoic philosophy in your personal life. Reason 9. The erosion of boundaries with loved ones. The hardest no is often to the people we love the most. We're afraid to disappoint our family and closest friends. Mark's mother would call him every Sunday and, without fail, spend an hour lamenting about her neighbors, her health, her life. Mark would just listen, feeling his own Sunday anxiety spike. He felt like it was his duty as a good son. But Stoicism teaches that true care isn't about boundless self-sacrifice. It's about wisely valuing your own resources. If you drain yourself completely for your family, what's left for them, or for you, in the long run? An exhausted, resentful shell. Marcus Aurelius had it right. It is better to refuse now than to give and regret it later. Mark finally practiced this. He told his mother, "Mom, I love you and I want to hear about your week. But let's talk about the good things first for 10 minutes, and then we can talk about the challenges." He set a loving but firm boundary. It wasn't a rejection. It was an invitation to a more mature, respectful, and sustainable relationship. Reason 10. The ultimate cost, your time. And here we are, at the most valuable resource of all. You will chronically undervalue your own time. The Stoics were obsessed with the finite nature of time. Seneca wrote, "You are living as if destined to live forever. Your own frailty never occurs to you." Mark did the math. He calculated he was spending about 10 hours a week on tasks and favors that were not his responsibility. That did not serve his goals, that drained him. That was over 500 hours a year. 500 hours he could have spent on his guitar, on dating, on reading, on building a side business, on sleep. He was trading his irreplaceable hours for the temporary approval of others. This is the absolute core of time management, understanding that your time is your life. Every time you give it away without thought, you are giving away a piece of your one and only life. The hero's return, a life reclaimed. So, what happened to Mark? This isn't a story of a guy who became a jerk. He is still kind. He is still the first to offer help when it's truly needed. But he's now guided by wisdom, not weakness. He started small. He used the "not right now" technique. When asked for a non-urgent favor, he'd say, "I can't do that right now, but I can check my schedule next week." This gave him space to decide without pressure. He did the energy audit. After any social interaction, he'd ask himself, did that fill my tank or drain it? He started gently investing more in the people who filled it. He reclaimed his time. He blocked out guitar hours in his calendar and treated it as sacrosanct as a meeting with his CEO. The result? Within a few months, his self-worth wasn't just an idea. It was a lived reality. His overthinking vanished because he was no longer waiting for other people to validate his choices. His career took off because he was seen as a leader, not a helper. And his relationships became deeper and more authentic because they were based on mutual respect, not utility. Mark's story shows us that these 10 reasons aren't a condemnation of kindness. They are a warning about mindless kindness. The goal is not to become cruel. It's to become wise, to become strong, to become stoic. So, what's your first step? I want you to be the hero of your own story. Your challenge is this: for the next 24 hours, just notice. Notice every time you feel that internal pull to say yes when your soul is whispering no. Don't act yet. Just observe. That awareness is the seed of all personal growth. If this video hit home for you, if you saw yourself in Mark's story, I need you to do 2 things for yourself right now. Subscribe to the channel. We're building a community focused on strength, wisdom, and authenticity, not people-pleasing. We have so much more to explore about Stoic philosophy, resilience, and emotional intelligence. Share this with one person you care about. Maybe it's a friend who is always getting taken advantage of. Maybe it's a family member who needs permission to put themselves first. Be the person who helps them start their journey. Let's stop letting kindness ruin our lives and start making it a powerful, conscious choice instead. Your journey to a balanced, powerful, and stoic life starts now. I believe you can do it. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one small boundary you can set this week? Tell me in the comments. I'll be there, reading everyone. I'll see you in the next video.